Hey everyone, let's do an unboxing and first pictures of the gold-plated Lionel 125th Anniversary Commodore Vanderbilt Hudson. Introduced with the rest of the Vision Line Hudsons in the 2025 Big Book catalog, this version of the Commodore Vanderbilt had its share of controversy when it was released. There were definitely folks who complained that the set of features included weren't worthy of the Vision Line packaging, and there was the usual complaining from the usual people about how Lionel costs too much. But I think it's just great to have a legacy version of a locomotive that Lionel hasn't offered since 1999. Of course, this wasn't the first controversy that involved Lionel and the Commodore Vanderbilt. There have been no less than 10 different models of this locomotive over the years, and many of them had their detractors. The first time Lionel released this locomotive was in 1935, while the prototype was still roaming the Hudson Valley. In a pattern that would repeat itself over time, Lionel released a black, blue, and red version, which sold for a whopping $14. The next version wasn't introduced until 1996, and it's possible that this is the one people hated the most. While the catalog had a very prototypical dark gray or black paint scheme, the delivered models were very silver, and the popularity of the New York Central with collectors meant that it wasn't going to go over well at all. While this version boasted one of the best whistles ever heard in that early TMCC period, the Pullmore motors were notoriously weak, and many engines couldn't even pull the passenger cars that were released at the same time. In a perfect example of making a bad situation worse, Lionel released another version the following year trying to fix the paint color by adding a factory direct weathering to the locomotive. This run was limited to 300 models, and to be generous, looked like someone had used gray spray paint over the original silver. Needless to say, collectors weren't impressed. To their credit, Lionel went back to the drawing board and 2 years later released a model worthy of the name. Sporting the traditional black, red, and blue colors, the 1999 versions were also limited editions with less than 600 of the black and only 250 of the red and blue models manufactured. In addition to getting the colors right, or at least better, Lionel introduced a significantly better motor and a wireless tether, while leaving the same high-quality sounds in place. Don't even get me started on this version. It's probably better off if we forget it ever happened. In 2002, Lionel released a standard gauge version of the Commodore, which seemed as strange at the time as it does today. It was a pretty model and a great runner, but stands out as the only time a standard gauge version was released. In 2008, we got the Red Comet. Part of the pre-war celebration series, it was released to commemorate the 1935 versions and is one of the few modern versions to hold its value. It regularly sells today for more than its inflation-adjusted price of $1,018, which is impressive for a conventional set. Now we get the 2025 Vision Line. Most of the complaints have been about the fact that it's being released as a Vision Line model, but considering the Vision Line Hudson was released in the same catalog, it doesn't bother me. The new tooling is beautiful, and the features, including whistle steam, road number specific details and crew talk, a kinematic drawbar, and force coupler, are more than enough for me. In addition to the 6 versions offered by Lionel, including the Lionel Store exclusive Locomotive of the Year paint scheme, there are 2 more incredible custom runs for Mr. Muffin's trains that offer an all-black version and a fantasy pacemaker red and gray version that looks amazing. Yes, absolutely, I've purchased both of them. The other complaint, which is expected these days, had to do with the cost. Like many of these discussions, the data doesn't support the theory that Lionel hates their customers and charges whatever they want. In fact, even with the tariff hikes included, thanks, the new Vision Line version is cheaper than every inflation-adjusted price for all of the models released in the mid-90s. When you factor in the better electronics, the additional legacy features, and DC motors that are going to be able to pull a house, this is a no-brainer, even if you don't count all of the additional paint schemes that are available. Even the fancy gold one I'm unboxing here is a better deal than the 1996 terrible silver version was. So with a little history out of the way, let's get this thing out of the box. Sorry to interrupt, but obviously there's something we need to talk about, right? Out of the box, there's some obvious corrosion or damage to the paint on the plastic coal door sitting on top of the tender. It really looks to me like the metal hinges that connect the plastic doors did something to the paint. Maybe they hadn't been sealed or treated properly, but in any case, the way it radiated out from the hinge makes me wonder if this is going to be something we see more of as they are delivered. The good news is that Lionel remains awesome, and in less than a day, they had a new one inspected and waiting for me at the Lionel retail store just north of Charlotte, North Carolina, where I live. The new one is in perfect condition, so I'm hopeful mine was an isolated incident, but we'll see as people get their deliveries and get them unboxed. Overall, what a beautiful locomotive. I can't wait to see the others I ordered, and I'll do a separate video on the pre-running maintenance that I do for every new locomotive before I put it on the layout, and some footage of it running around the track. That is, if I can get the layout cleaned up enough to run it, because as you can tell, it's a bit of a mess at the moment. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would love to get your feedback on what you liked and what you didn't like in the comments below. Thanks for watching.